Hi, in this video, I'm going to walk you through the design process of my second semester studio project. Everything I'll share is based on the progress I submitted on Google Classroom. At first, I started by looking for precedents, mostly from places I had personally visited. I also searched for inspiration about buildings situated on uneven terrain and explored references that use level differences as the main idea. I then focused on finding interesting compositional ideas because I still wanted to highlight composition as a key design element in my work. Lastly, I took note of what I needed to prepare for the next mentoring session, including key takeaways from the precedents I studied. After that, I began analyzing the core concept I wanted to express in my design. I decided to create an environmentally friendly building by minimizing alterations to the natural shape and function of the land. To begin visualizing the form, I made a 3D model of the existing terrain using layers of cut cardboard that I could shift and adjust. During mentoring, I was reminded that this concept came with many challenges, especially concerning the roof form, the positioning and composition of the building, and the dimensions of each space. Based on that feedback, I developed my first study model. I applied the ideas I had gathered, such as a tropical roof to suit the local climate, open spaces that reflect a nature-inspired concept, and marked dimensions for every room. However, my mistake was focusing too much on the building's interior. I forgot that I am an architecture student, not an interior designer. The design ended up looking more like a factory, so I was advised to push my creativity further. From there, I tried to deepen my understanding of the site context. I analyzed the site itself, the spatial program, and its flow, as well as other relevant data to support my design ideas. This led to my second study model. I started exploring more creative building forms while organizing the spaces more clearly. But then, I ran into a new issue. It was hard to arrange rooms inside abstract shapes, like circles. That's why I came to class with a lot of questions. Also, my original concept of a tropical roof got lost because I used flat concrete roofing, which brings potential leakage problems. To solve that, I searched for new forms that made it easier to organize spatial layouts, this time by reducing circular curves. The result was a design that still looked creative but used more angular and separated masonries. I broke up the rigid elements to avoid overly heavy and solid impressions and to create a more open feel. During mentoring, my lecturers seemed to notice that I was struggling with how to express my concept through form. So I was given several examples of how buildings are typically placed on sloped terrain. I was also encouraged to make topographic changes that didn't completely erase the site's original contour. After that, I started walking around the studio to see my friends' designs. I was feeling stuck with mine, and honestly, a little stressed. I realized that many of them saved time and explored more creative variations by designing on their laptops. I thought that was a great idea, and it inspired me to try doing the same. I even asked my friends from other departments to help brainstorm ideas for a suitable form based on the terrain image. They were kind enough to sketch their interpretations, which I kept as references. Among those, one concept really stood out to me, and I ended up using it as a base for my next design iteration. That next design was inspired by both that friend's sketch and a precedent I found online. I wanted to create multiple buildings with different functions, laid out in a way that followed the contour rather than cutting through the land. I started working digitally, but then a new problem appeared. The roof became too large. It had to cover all circulation paths so that visitors at the food hub wouldn't get wet moving from one building to another. This made the special flow feel too complicated, with excessive movement for the users. Still, I made sure to apply my lecturer's advice to modify the terrain to better fit the design. I expressed this through a physical model, which surprisingly received more positive feedback. The evaluation I got focused on how I could better utilize the empty spaces in the layout. I was also reminded that a roof doesn't always have to be a boxy. Tropical roofs can be highly creative too. For the next version, I started to incorporate curves again, because deep down, I really dislike overly rigid spaces. The circulation improved significantly compared to the previous version and become more structured and user-friendly. Since this curved design was well received, I developed the model further by adding walls and partitions. With this development, the pros and cons of the design became much clearer, especially in terms of contextual relationship, roof form, space usage, outdoor environment design, building placement, and more. But each issue also came with potential solutions that I could apply in the next stage. Moving forward, I revised and added a lot more elements and details to the model. At this point, I was determined to treat it as my final model. I gave serious thought to room sizes and proportions, but as always in design, there's always room to improve. I was also advised to modify my roof model to avoid visual monotony. Thanks to all the feedback, I already had clear picture of what to refine in my final product. I also kept observing my friends' progress as references for materials and detailing. I will admit, I felt a little bit insecure seeing how forward others had gone, especially since I was still behind in digital tools and relied heavily on manual methods. But that's okay. In the end, I completed my final model with all the considerations and progress that led to it. I focused all my energy on building the physical model due to time limitations, which meant I had to build and finalize it at the same time. Unfortunately, this took up most of my time, so my poster presentation turned out kind of a mess. Thankfully, the room dimensions met all the required standards, so yeah, small win. Thank you for watching. I hope I can keep improving and produce even better designs in the future.